From the New York City area, welcome to the Badass Counseling Show, where the master badass himself, Sven takes you deep and gives balm for the soul, baby.
Hello, fine people. It's good to have you here on the Badass Counseling Show. You found us. We have luckily found you, and it's so nice to have you here joining us. Whether you are tuning in from Meadville, Pennsylvania, Oregon, Orchard, Washington, down in Australia, or over in the UK, we love having you here with us. We truly do. This is one of our Sunday episodes where we take all questions on all things life-related. I am joined in studio by KC over in the booth, and in absentia by Sophia the artist, and right next to me, as in touching distance.
Oh, no.
By Rob the Rocket. Rob, what say ye?
I'm feeling good. The earworm is I'll Be Back, the Beatles. You know, if you break my heart, I'll go, but I'll be back again. That is the opposite of the way I feel right now, and That makes me feel good.
You have no desire to go back.
I have none, no.
Well, that's good. And have you find yourself moving on?
Why, yes, as a matter of fact. And you've helped with that, and I greatly appreciate it. So now it's time to help all these folks checking in on social media.
I see. Well, why don't we do just that? That's what we're here for, folks. And we've got some folks sending in questions and so forth. And the first one we've got here comes from, it's actually not stated as a question. If you are sending in your questions, it'd be nice if you stated them as a question. But I can do a little interpretation and keep them short. That always helps. Okay, I've got one here from Amanda on Facebook. Amanda says, guilt of boundaries with a covert narcissist mother. Now, as you guys know, I don't take psychological terms. I'm not a psychologist, right? I am a soul counselor. And so generally, if you can leave the psych terms off, that would be great. And just convert it into simple normal human being language, that would be super duper. Because you throw out a term, and I am going to answer your question, Amanda. You throw out a term like narcissist and a million interpretations for a million different people, right? So if you use more specific terms of what specifically that means to you, then we can have a conversation. But I'm going to take your questions anyway. Guilt of boundaries with a covert narcissist mother. The covert narcissist mother, in a way, really has nothing to do with it. Guilt of boundaries, that's the whole point right there. Guilt of boundaries. If somebody has guilt over having boundaries, and it's funny because I literally just made a video on this for posting like 2 days ago. I just haven't posted it. It's in the queue. I've got about 3 or 4 posted. I tend to do them in batches. And it's on the idea of boundaries and guilt over boundaries. If you have been in your life, if you feel guilt setting boundaries with others, what you're fundamentally saying is, I feel guilty stating my needs. Now, isn't that interesting? So you've been conditioned fundamentally to believe then that your needs aren't important. Your needs don't deserve to be heard. Your wants aren't important, right? And you probably feel more justified with a need, but if it's a want, oh my God, it has to be huge for you to feel justified then. So guilt over boundaries means that you've been conditioned to believe that your needs and wants are less important. And isn't it fascinating that you are feeling guilt over boundaries with likely the very person who taught you to feel guilt over boundaries, a parent? And it's usually bigger with the person who taught us so. You probably don't have as much guilt having boundaries with, let's say, a coworker or a friend, or maybe one of your children or something. But when it comes to the very person who taught it to you, who ingrained it into you, who sort of beat it into you, so to speak, not necessarily literally, it's much more difficult because you're going to get a lot more pushback. Why? Because they had all the power for all of your relationship. In fact, they still have power over you. They have the power of their voices in your head, and that's why you feel guilt, because that voice of them is in your head, and you fear their pushback inside of you, their voice inside of you, but also in real life. You fear mom's pushback, and it's the pushback inside of your head at the moment. It's just like, gosh, I feel bad standing up for myself. And just for the record, you guys, just so you know, a boundary, where I live in the lower New England, New York City area, a lot of the homes, I have 1 acre of land, it's not big, But a lot of the homes, the property has stone walls about 3 feet tall. It's because when the area was first settled and later settled some more, in order to make the land arable, that is farmable, to till the land and grow things, you had to get these stones. The stones, big stones, like 2.5 footers and 1 footers, and you had to move those away, right? Because they had been washed up on the shore by the ocean over time. And so you had to move those to the side of the property, and then you just created walls between the properties. Makes sense. So those stone walls are a boundary. It is the boundary between Sandy's property and my property saying, hey, you can't come over here, or Sandy saying, you can't come over here. Now, Sandy and I have been long friends for many, many, many years, or John and I have been friends from it. John can come over onto my property anytime he wants. Sandy can come over anytime she wants. She grows the best flowers. I love it when she brings flowers. Anyway, what's the point? The point is that boundary implies to anyone else, though, it means no, cannot cross. Well, that's what a boundary is in a relationship. It's a no. And oftentimes the hardest thing in any relationship is not always just asking for what we want, but it's saying the no. Why? Because no is as much an expression of who I am as are the things I'm going for. No, I don't want that. No, you can't do that to me. No, this isn't fair how you're treating me. No, that's not okay, okay? And very often we find our no, finally, in a fit of anger, or when the anger or the discontent or the frustration, or when a situation gets so bad, the pain gets so bad, we finally find our inner no. Children shout loudest when feeling heard least. That no is coming out. I need to be heard. What about me? People shout loudest when feeling heard least. In a relationship, when my needs aren't being met, a no rises up. When I'm being mistreated, a no rises up. No, that's not okay. No, don't do that to me. No, I don't want to go do that. No, you can't come onto my property. So inside the anger is no, and inside no is I. I don't like how you're treating me. No, that isn't fair to me. No, I don't want to do that. So what's inside your boundary, Amanda, is no. What's inside of no is I. You feel guilt over stating the most precious word in the English language, which is I. You cannot have a you until you have an I. You cannot authentically give of yourself until you fully know yourself and love yourself. Then your giving comes from a different place. And you are finding your I, and you feel guilty having an I because you were conditioned as a child to believe your I doesn't matter. And you are likely conditioned by the very person that you feel most guilty saying I to, saying no to, having a stone wall with. And this is the test. This is what it means to slay the demons inside. You are fundamentally having to slay the mother of your childhood. You can have a full relationship with your mother in real life. I don't need you to confront your mother in real life or not confront her. That has nothing to do with it. It's the mother that is still inside your head that is running your life right now.
Yeah, Erica on YouTube says, put it this way, standing up for yourself apparently isn't being a bitch.
No, but sometimes in life we need to be a bitch. Sometimes in life we need to be an asshole, but that's a perception of someone else. If someone wants to perceive me as a bitch, what the fuck do I care? Who gives a fuck? If I have to be me, I have to be me. And if somebody does, of course they're going to call you a bitch. What you have to understand, people, is that the juncture of self, of authenticity, the juncture comes where you have to choose, where you realize me choosing me means I'm no longer being who everyone is used to me being. And many people want you to continue to be who you've always been. Why? It meets their needs. It's comfortable for them. So they are going to resist. They are going to fight you and say, no, you're bad. No, you're a bitch. No, you're an asshole. You're a dick. What's your problem? They're going to fight you. Why? They are married to the idea of who you used to be, who they want you to be. They're going to push you to go back. And you're going to be faced with a choice. But if I choose me, I lose them. Yep. Or if I choose me, I'm going to walk away from them, right? Now, there are going to be those people who say, fuck, I want you to be you. I support you. They're going to stay with you, and there's those you're going to lose. And that's the price of authenticity. Knowing you're going to lose some people. And that's where a lot of people get stuck. And they're like, nope, I can't bear to lose my whatever, or I can't bear to endure the criticism of my brother, my father, my best friend, whatever it might be. And you're at that juncture right now. Yeah, you feel guilty, Amanda. So what you need to do is just start fucking journaling. Write your mother a letter or four that you don't send, and journal about all your guilt, and write your mother a letter saying all the things that you feel and all the things that you think. Flush it out, flush it out, flush it out, and that guilt will evaporate. Why? Because what's in you is an emotional charge. And then emotional charges can be flushed out. It's very simple, guys. Emotions can all be flushed out. And the more you flush and flush and flush and flush on all the memories you have in your past and what's going on in your present, but not just the present, especially the past, those memories that have emotional charges attached to them, the more you do that, the more you begin to calm down inside. The more you're in tune to your own intuition, the more power you have, the greater clarity you have. Next question. Okay. I've got Sarah on TikTok saying, currently dealing with a smear campaign fallout of leaving a narcissist. I needed to hear this. Oh, I thought there was a question. That's fine. Yeah, I had to go through that too after one of my divorces, and it's brutal and it's horrible. And I get it. And it was done, poison got poured into my children's ears, metaphorically speaking, and so forth. And I totally get it. And it's a bitch and it's hard. And what do? Honestly, you keep drilling down and flushing out your own shit and flushing out your own shit and flushing out your own shit. Because believe it or not, even in the midst of the very worst stuff, you can heal yourself. And that's where we learn what it really means to discover the calm in the storm. It does exist. It can exist. It just requires a lot of fucking ugly, brutal work. It doesn't have to take a long time. It's an issue of depth, not length. People who think counseling has to take a long time. Oh, I've been in counseling for 10 years. I'm like, oh my God, get a new therapist. Jesus, it doesn't have to take that long. Somebody's not taking you deep. It's always an issue of depth, folks. All right, anyway, side tangent there. All right, next question. Well, Beans Nation then asked the question, good question. Does it sometimes take 1,000 letters, or is it just so embedded it takes a minute? Yeah, no, sometimes it does take a lot of letters. I wrote many letters to my second wife that I didn't send. Many letters to my first wife that I did send. And you guys always wonder, you guys always ask me, well, why shouldn't I send it? And so forth. And I'm like, you can send it. I don't give a fuck if you send it or not. I'm just saying, if you're sending it, it's because you're trying to convince the other person. You're trying to elicit a response. And if you're trying to elicit a response, you're no longer doing it for your own healing. You're doing it because you want the person back. Or you're trying to create a narrative, right? So you're trying to get something rather than just heal yourself. But you can get the healing without ever sending the letter. And it was profoundly embarrassing and humiliating and all these other things when I did send the letters, but that was fine. That's how I learned. So I got something good out of it that hopefully you guys can benefit from. So you're going to send letters. So does it take 1,000 letters? It can. You just keep flushing. But that also indicates, to your point, yes, that you need to go deeper. There's some other stuff you're not touching. And usually the thing that keeps us stuck to a person is the longing, is the love and the longing. Longing for approval, longing for that connection, but it's usually longing for the approval and just the love and the fear of not having them, which is the other thing you need to be exploring in your journaling. Is it's not just the love, gee, I miss Susie, but what is it I fear about not having her? Oh, I can never be happy. Okay, well then go down deeper into that. Or the fear of being on my own, fear of not having a companion, fear that if I don't have someone, then all those voices from my past come rising up in me. See, I'm a loser. See, I'm unlovable. See, there is something wrong with me. I'm unlovable. And it's those voices that you fear the most. It's not even that I miss Susie so much. I just fear those voices so much. So this is what you need to be going into in your journaling, because there is some reason you're still holding on to Susie or Benjamin, whatever it is. There is a reason, and it's usually fear or longing for their love, and that because you just haven't gotten your love for them out of you. And so it's flushing out the love and digging into what your fears might be. Rob, you got something from over on YouTube?
Yeah, on YouTube, Sandy says, every day is a struggle getting a divorce at age 71. See, I can relate to that. But thanks to you, Rob, and the book, I'm looking forward to freedom for the first time in my life. But every day he throws you in my face.
How does he throw me in your face?
I guess complaining about her having new understanding.
Oh, I thought he was like, well, but Sven says you're a bitch.
Well, no, I don't think that's it.
Rob, do you have any insight on divorce over 70?
Yeah, I sure do. I've been there, done that.
And so you may be a few steps ahead of her at least. Any thoughts?
Just a few. TikTok, I mean, you're absolutely concerned that you only have so much time left. And so it increases the need to do something quickly. The urgency is like over the top, but then you cannot give into that. You cannot think, oh, I'm desperate because I'm going to die. No, that's the worst thing you can do. You have to say, no, I got time left. I feel good. I'm okay. People will understand who I am. And if they like me for who I am, let's go. It's as simple as that. Don't let the age stop you or make you think that the curtain's coming down.
Well, and also because then that desperateness will cause you to not do the work to heal your own shit and your own side of the problem. So then you'll just carry those into any new relationship. Furthermore, you will cling to any new person.
Right.
And the clinging is what caused the problems in the first place. I'm clinging to a person while they kick the shit out of me, with their words or how they treat me or what have you.
Great time to make the wrong decision.
Yeah. Well, and what's funny about what you just said, Rob, gee, death is coming, or gee, I'm older or whatever. I have had clients in their 40s say, gee, I'm getting old. And, we look back in 50s or 70s or whatever. Or I had a woman say, I'm 37 and I'm, almost beyond childbearing years, which I get that. We all get that because it's the 40. But she's like, who's going to want me? I'm 37 and I've never had children, and who's going to want me? It's like, oh, child.
Right.
You've got a lot of life ahead. I understand, and I'm very compassionate, but it's like, oh, kiddo, you got a long life ahead of you.
Yeah, because of this show, I have fame, which means I'm going to live forever.
Always sneaking in those lines. All right. I like it. Here we go.
Do you have another comment for her? Or that?
No, I mean, it sounds like she's staying the course and doing the work, and that's the important thing.
Yep.
And there's no rush. And what you need to be journaling on is your anxieties and your fears about being, gee, I'm old. Is anybody still going to want me?
Yeah.
I'm old. Gee, I don't have many happy years left. I'm afraid, especially on fear, though. That needs to be the whopper. And on disappointment of the relationship ending. But especially fear, because transitioning out of this, the anxiety and the fear are the two things that you really need to be journaling on most.
And she says, I'm not a slave anymore.
And that's a good
feeling. There we
go. Free at last, free at last. All right. Rebecca asked the question, how do I emotionally recover from a tragedy situation that plummeted my self-esteem? She says, I'm stuck in the country outside. Is a little help from the embassy. So she's outside of the country. How do I recover from a tragedy situation that plummeted my self-esteem? Offered no insights on what that tragedy might be, and that's fine. I won't ask you. Emotionally recover. First of all, being somewhat isolated is oftentimes a good thing for recovering from a tragedy, whether it's some sort of physical tragedy, house burned down, lost all your money, or emotional tragedy, relationship ended. Oftentimes, isolation can be a very good thing for that. I have a very dear friend right now who's recovering from some significant mental health issues. And he, because of his work, he lost his job, but, he's able to make it financially. Not comfortable or anything. I mean, he's comfortable, but he's not like hurting, but he's not rich or anything like that. And he's just taking this time because of his medication to adjust, and he's got a lot of downtime. And I told him, just let it be. Just let your body and your mind recover and do the journaling. And, can't really get therapy other than, chatting with me now and then, but just take your time, journal it out. The body needs rest to recover. The soul needs rest. And with tragedy, with traumatic events, we need to be flushing out the feelings, the memories, writing about the memories. What do you remember? So, for instance, back when I was a trauma counselor, both at a hospital, level 1 trauma center, and for an airline, if somebody had gone through a traumatic event and then I'm the first one to meet with them, I would just ask them to explain to me what happened, the actual physical events. So I'm taking them down into the physical events. And then after they had described all of that, maybe it takes 20 minutes, maybe it takes 40 minutes, then I'd say, and what was going on inside of you during that? Okay, now I'm going down lower inside of the physical events, okay? Because I know, first of all, the more of them just talking about the event, just telling the story, like when you get in a car accident, you're going to tell 10 people in the next 48 hours, right? And you're going to keep telling people why, because that's how we get flush it out. but I'm taking them deeper beyond just the physical events. Now I'm taking them down into, well, how did it feel? What was going on inside you? What were the fears? What was going on, et cetera, et cetera. Now we're decharging by talking about the feelings and talking about the anxieties and the fears and the whatever. Now we're decharging the memory as well. So now this traumatic event is becoming less and less traumatic right there, right afterwards when we're talking about it. And I'll keep them down there as long as I can tell they'll stay down there. And then I'll ask them to tell me the physical event one more time. So now we're coming back up. And then after they've told it, then we're out. And if I'm working with somebody repeatedly, we'll do that a few times. Take them down, tell the story, take them way down. What are you feeling? What was going on inside you? Take them back up, tell the story, take them out. And that's what you can do with yourselves. The memories. So basically, when we tell the story is, what's the memory? So in your journaling, write out, what are the memories? Not just of that one traumatic event in your past, but it's all the traumatic events, all the memories you had where you got hurt or scared or somebody offended you or whatever it is. And then go down, okay, what was going on inside of me? What was I thinking? What was I feeling? And don't just be in the thinking. Be in the feeling as well. What was going on inside? Well, but what was under that? There was something else though. And get into that. And then come back out and write about the memory some more. Just keep going through that cycle. What is that doing? It's decharging the memories. You are literally doing for yourself what you would pay a therapist to do. And all it costs you is the price of a pen and a pad of paper. That's all it costs you. Or type it into your fucking computer. That's it. That's all it takes. Don't do it verbally into your phone unless you are going to go back in and edit those. Why? Because it forces you, by writing or by typing, it forces you to stay in the memory longer. And that's a positive effect. Why? Because it forces you to feel it longer, and that's good. Cure for the pain is in the pain. All right. Next
is let's talk about Community Plus, if you will, please. Sven.
Sure. Real quick. Community Plus is for those who want to level up their group experience, their support group, growth group experience. We have a group of 45,000 people on Facebook that is free, and that's a support group. And we had a whole bunch of people saying, yeah, but I want something, more focused, more intense, just more supportive, more intimate. And so we made a small group. It's capped at 1,000, but it's not at 1,000 presently. And there are so many things. You get direct access to me twice a month for just those in the group. And it's called Community Plus. It's on the website. You get, we have drawings every month for free counseling with me. Drawings every month for free small group counseling with me. We have priority pass access to come on the show for counseling, priority pass access to leap to the head of the waiting line if you're wanting, paid counseling with me and so forth, to pay for counseling, those sorts of things. So do-it-yourself videos are free once you're in Community Plus. It's not cheap, but it's not expensive. But you get so much bang for your buck. That's Community Plus on badasscounseling.com.
This show provides soul counseling intended to entertain and inform and is not medical advice. Now, back to the badass.
We're back. Jill over on TikTok says, Rob, I think that is my fear. So you named it. Just wanted to feed in what you were talking about before.
All right, glad to
Jill
help.
named that. Yep. Brat on TikTok says, can I save my marriage to a narcissist? Oh, absolutely. You absolutely can. And it's very, very simple. Just shut the fuck up and do what your narcissist wants you to do. I'm not even being sarcastic. I'm being totally serious. You can absolutely save it. Take down any of those stone walls around your property inside of you. Have no boundaries. Make your life about serving them and making them happy. And you can absolutely and unequivocally save your marriage. You'll be fucking miserable for the rest of your life, but you can save the marriage. So where you are at, the mere fact that you're asking that question says that what's really going on inside of you is that you are struggling between saving the marriage and saving yourself. Otherwise, you wouldn't even be asking the fucking question. You already know what the prescription is. You already know what this marriage is asking of you. You wouldn't even be using the word narcissist unless you saw a problem. At some point in this marriage, there was a problem. This person didn't feel good, and you sought to find a name for it, a description of how this person is acting and how this person is treating you. And you found some names, and this is one of them. Now, on TikTok, you can only write about fucking 12 words. So, you had to compress it, and that's understandable. And so this is a person who for you is not nice, not someone you are enjoying your relationship with. And you're basically screaming inside of you, I don't like this relationship, but you want to save the relationship. So you love the relationship, but you just don't like how you're being treated. So what you're fundamentally being forced to choose is between yourself and this marriage. But you say, can I save my marriage? Yeah, sure. Save the marriage, but it's going to come at the price I guarantee it. And you know what? I'm going to open it up to the peanut gallery. All right, all my little peanuts. I love my peanuts.
Oh, dear.
No, I love my peanuts. All my peanuts on TikTok, all my peanuts on Facebook, and all my peanuts on YouTube.
It just doesn't sound like the word peanuts when you're saying it.
Oh, I mean it in the Charles M. Schultz way.
Okay.
Absolutely. He's a Minnesotan, lived over what is now O'Gara's Garage, which anybody who is from Minnesota, especially the St. Paul area, knows O'Gara's, right? Walk in the main gate of the Minnesota State Fair. There's O'Gara's right there, all right, as a true Minnesotan. But that's where he grew up. His dad was the barber on the main floor where O'Gara's is now. Anyway, Charles M. Schultz. All right, all my peanuts. Can you save a marriage to a narcissist? Yes, you can if you just shut up and do what you're told. Am I correct?
Greg says you're not wrong. Erica says leave and feel better. Diane says so true.
Yes. Yep. Now, but that's not the question. What you're really struggling with is, can I save my marriage and be happy? That's what you're really asking. What about me? You know that song by the group Moving Pictures from the 80s? What about me? No, not Moving Pictures, the Rush album. What about me? That's what's going on inside of you. No, in all likelihood, you cannot simultaneously have a you and be married to this person that you call a narcissist. But you have fundamentally one path. You have to stand up for you and then watch how they respond. And they are not going to like it. See, what presently exists in your marriage is a significant power imbalance. Now, those of you that can see me visually, you can see that my two hands are in front of me like karate chops, right? And one is higher than the other by about 6 inches, okay? And that higher one is your spouse, and they have power over you. Okay, this represents the power imbalance. In order for you to be able to be happy, there needs to be a more equitable distribution of power. And equitable distribution of power means there's an equitable distribution of giving. Deposits into the emotional and relationship bank account, so to speak. For instance, I am finally in my life, in my 40s and now in my late 50s, in a relationship where I cannot outgive my partner, even though I try and she tries. And at times, she has to make significant withdrawals from the bank account. At times, I have to make significant withdrawals. At times, she makes significant deposits into that emotional relationship bank account. At times, I do. But we're always consistently making deposits. She was asleep this morning when I put the Yeti of coffee with cream in it at her bedside stand and slipped out to come up to do the tapings. All right? Every morning I leave her coffee because I like to. Every morning I let her puppies out of the kennel so they can snuggle with her because she likes that. I can't stand to have the dogs in the bed. I wouldn't sleep a fucking wink. All right? So little deposits. She makes little deposits for me. Some nights she'll put the toothpaste on my toothbrush before I come in to go to bed. Right? Silly little things like that. What's the point? You have this unequal distribution of power. And what's going to need to happen in order for you to get your needs and your wants met is you are going to have to escalate your power. You're going to have to stand up for yourself. And you say to me in response, Sven, I have stood up for myself. And my response is, no, you haven't. And your response is, hell yeah, I have. And my response is, no, you've stood up. You've created equal power for a minute. And then invariably what happens is your spouse escalates even further. And then what happens? Whether they threaten, whether they get loud, whether they walk out, whether they say, I'm leaving, whether they hit you, whatever it is, they escalate even further and you, wait for it, back down. and they get their foot right back on your throat where they've always had it. And the old power imbalance is reestablished. So what it means to truly stand up for yourself in life, what it means to truly have your needs and wants met in any relationship, a friendship, a parent-child relationship, a relationship with a narcissist, a relationship with anyone, is to stand up and not back down. Now, I'm constantly compromising in my relationship with my girlfriend, my relationship with Rob, my friend, my relationship with my brothers or my children, all right? But I've chosen those because over time we've built trust, and they make compromises too. And it's a back and forth. But you are a walking compromise, I'm willing to bet. The mere fact that you characterize your partner as a narcissist says you are a walking compromise. Furthermore, you never compromise on your non-negotiables, but that's a separate exercise. In my book, there's a hole in my love cup. Okay, that one. All right. And so what's got to happen in order for you to get your needs met is you have to stand up and not back down. And what are they going to do? They're going to escalate even further. You have to be willing to escalate even further. And sometimes escalating even further means walking away. You may be sick of the fighting. You may be sick of the escalations. There's your answer. And here's the final piece I want to say on this narcissist thing. Narcissists do not change without one thing. There's only one thing that will cause a narcissist to change. And for the record, so that you know, we just finished taping a double episode with a self-admitted narcissist whose wife they'd been together for I don't know how many years, Rob. And she was like, "This is your last shot, buddy boy." And he's like, "Fuck." And he came on our show, and basically I kicked the living shit out of him in a loving way. Because I knew I wasn't kicking the living shit out of him. I was kicking the living shit out of the voices and the conditioning that created that narcissist back when he was about 8 years old. And that episode will air
in June.
The only thing that has a shot of changing a narcissist, and those that say narcissists can't change, I completely disagree. I've been counseling people for 30 years. They can, you just can't control the change. You can't control if they change. You cannot control when they change. You cannot control how they change. But I have seen them change. I have helped them change. Furthermore, I have seen what causes them to change. And it's always one thing and one thing only. Pain. Specifically, pain as a result of loss. Pain. And they may say they've had a lot of pain, or you may say they have had a lot of pain or whatever, but until they have had a certain threshold of pain, which they won't know until they get there, and they may never, but until they have pain, and usually it's from loss of a person, and that person may not be you. That's the sad part. Sometimes it's a child, where their child or their adult child no longer wants anything to do with them. Or maybe their adult child says, "I don't want you near my kids." Or who knows who it is. But it's pain is the only thing of some sort that has the power to break a narcissist. And that is simply an accent on what I talk about in my book. It's one of the central theories of my book. There's a hole in my love cup. Change will not occur until the pain gets bad enough. And you have to understand, narcissists were conditioned at a very young age to what? To survive. And their narcissism became a tool for surviving, for stealing from others so that they could survive. Does that justify their actions? No. But that's the tool to healing. And they are not going to go into that shit unless their pain has finally gotten bad enough. All right.
You know, Sven, we've done hundreds of these episodes, but I always get some new insight. So thanks for that.
Yeah, you bet. And again, I just want to remind you, while a narcissist, it is pain that will change them, that you may not be the one that is able to inflict that pain on them. And I don't mean willfully. I mean, if you walk away, that may not hurt them. You may not be the one. Even though them walking away would be the one that would hurt you. Okay? But it's always pain. All right, next question. Gina asked the question on Facebook, how do narcissists become that way? Can you answer this? Sure. It's conditioned. All right. No child comes out of the womb and saying, I'm going to fuck over everybody I can. You guys know my phrase for narcissist is extreme taker. I think it says more. Narcissist is so loaded. It's like the word God or the word love. It's just like, there's about 80 million definitions of that, right? And so what happens is at some age in this person's life, they got conditioned to believe they don't matter. And their needs to have love poured into their love cup were not happening. And usually it was to such an extreme degree that they discovered that the only way they could get their needs met was by getting it wherever they could. Like I'm reminded of, it's Aladdin, I think it is. Is it Aladdin, the Disney movie? One of them, the kid is a street rat, I think was his, and he'd steal an apple from the street vendor's cart or something like that. And, he's in such a desperate situation that he has to steal an apple from a fruit monger. Okay. Well, it's kind of the same way. It's actually very much the same way that if the child is not getting their needs met, the child has to survive. And so they develop mechanisms for surviving. And one of the mechanisms is stealing love, which in a child is completely understandable. Can you really blame a child who's not getting their love needs met? So in a child, it's a survival mechanism. Now, some children survive by flying below the radar. If it's unsafe, let's say if you grew up in a home where there's an abuser or where you're walking on eggshells, how does the child survive? By flying safe, flying below the radar, not sticking out, becoming shy, becoming quiet. Some children survive by becoming bombastic. How are they surviving? It gets them attention, because even negative attention, getting yelled at, is better than no attention. Some people survive by becoming perfect, because if I'm perfect, then you can't criticize me. And if I'm perfect, then I'll get some positive attention. So children are choosing in bad situations, and bad might not be, oh, I'm being abused. Bad can just be there's not enough attention, or parents aren't around because they're both working full time. So it's not necessarily that parents are inherently bad all the time. But one of the survival mechanisms that a child will use, and by survival, I mean getting their needs for love met, to be seen, to be heard, to be understood. One of those mechanisms is to begin to siphon love from other people, or to begin to you realizing you can manipulate people to get your love needs met. And there are any number of ways to manipulate people. And so the child does it. Can you blame a child for doing it? Can you? Can you blame an 8-year-old or a 14-year-old for just trying to get love? That's a tough one, isn't it? Well, then what if 5, 10, 15 years into that pattern, it's now deeply embedded as a pattern that works? Well, now they're an adult. So they are responsible for their actions, but we can see where those actions came from. I'm not excusing the actions, but by the time they darken my door, I have to treat them as a person who is hurting. And if I'm going to heal them and stop them from hurting other people, I have to go down to the origin. Because just pointing a finger and demonizing them, that solves nothing. Just trying to solve the behavioral problems in the marriage, that solves nothing. Why? Because the core belief driving those behaviors is still operating. And what's the core belief? I suck. I don't deserve love. I'm not good enough. No one loves me. Well, shit. You put those beliefs into any human being, and they will act in ways that are not in their best interests long term, that are going to hurt other people. And so anyway, where does it come from? It comes from conditioning that says you're not wanted, you're not wantable, you're not good enough, you're unlovable. Any of these messages, you don't matter, or you only matter to meet my needs, or I don't see you. Any of those messages, all of those messages, and a person could easily become a narcissist. Okay. And then someone asked the follow-up question, what does stealing love look like? What does stealing love look like? Well, let's invert the equation first. How might a parent steal love from a child? A parent might steal love from a child by saying, come here and give me a hug. Now, that's innocuous enough, right? We've all done it. You have kids, come here and give me a hug. Am I using the child to get my needs for affection met? And I don't mean in some dirty way. I just mean I'm able to get my affection needs met. And it's so easy because children have so much affection, don't they? Right. What about stealing love by telling my child, make me proud, don't embarrass me? What about pushing the child to succeed? And if I were to dig down, it's because I want this child to be proud or to be great at, whatever, so that what? So that I can post it on Facebook, so that I can tell my friends, so that, look what I did. Look how good a parent I am. Now, I'm not going to actually say those words, but it's implicit. And somewhere deep inside of me, maybe I'm doing it because now I can get mom's approval. Or now I can show dad I'm fucking better father than he was. Right? So I'm using this child. I'm stealing from them attention. I'm stealing their life from them to get attention, to get love for me. I'm manipulating them to get for me. How can we invert that equation? Well, how might a child steal love? What if a child has that similar power over someone else, over another child? So for instance, there was a boy, Kyle, in first grade. And for whatever reason, I don't know why I had this power or ability. I said to Kyle, bring me $20. Literally first grade. It was Lake Park, Minnesota, a little town. And I said, bring me $20. And he stole $20 out of his mom's wallet or his dad's wallet, and he brought me $20 the next day. I don't even know why I said 20. Back in 1973, $1 was huge, right? Fuck, a quarter would have been incredible. You know how much candy you can buy for a quarter back then? You can buy like 5 candy bars. And of course, I got in trouble. I had to go down and talk to Miss Hattlestead and, whatever, vice principal. And anyway, Hattlestead just sounds like a mean lady, but she was actually quite sweet normally. But anyway, what's the point? The
point is this kid was buying protection.
Maybe so. But you learn how to manipulate people. You learn you have power over it. So what was I getting out of that? How was I stealing love? I was using these boys to get attention for myself. I was getting love. I was getting admiration, respect. I was getting attention, right? I was stealing attention, which is a form of love, right? I have had countless clients in my day where an 8, a 10-year-old is the initiator in sexual relations with a younger sibling, stealing love. Why? It's violent, it's chaotic in their home, or maybe their home is empty. Parents aren't even around, as in for a week or 2 on end. Am I justifying it? No. You're asking, how does love get stolen when you're a child? How does it happen? Or maybe you're a teenager and you learn you can manipulate your friends, or maybe you learn you can manipulate people to have sex with you or buy you things or do whatever. You learn you can manipulate teachers. I was just having a discussion with a client the other day who has her PhD in education and runs a school district. And we were talking about the malaise that she sees in some teachers nowadays, many young teachers wanting approval, wanting to be liked by their students. Well, if you want to be liked by the very people you're trying to teach, if you want it to a significant degree, what are you going to do? You're often going to back off from doing the hard things. Furthermore, they have power over you. If I need you to like me, you now have power over me because you have something I want. I want your approval, which means I can now, to some degree, be manipulated by you. Because if you pout or if you express that you don't like me, now I am to somewhat what? I'm somewhat at your bidding. You now have the power to what? Steal from me. Steal what? Maybe if I'm caught between C plus and a B minus, I might be able to get that B minus if I imply that I maybe am disappointed in you, teacher. Learning how to steal love, steal attention, steal approval, steal favor, curry favors, and you just get better and better and better at it to the point where you get to be, whether it's by force or by cunning, you get to the point where then in adulthood, 10, 20 years into a marriage, you've completely, perhaps using your entire family to pour love into your love cup, and everybody learns to serve you, and beyond that, you don't really fucking care. And maybe the kids have even turned on each other, fighting to get a little bit of attention from you. Don't ask me how many times I've seen that. Right? So now the inmates are running the asylum. You don't fucking care if they turn on each other as long as everyone is paying fealty to you. Pouring love into your love cup. Well, I was telling a client this week that when my first wife and I took our honeymoon, Rob, in Europe, her father said, you can either have a big wedding and a small honeymoon or a small wedding and a big honeymoon. We chose the big honeymoon. And so we went on a brief tour of Southern Europe and in November of all months. Bad idea. Anyway, late October. Anyway, we went through Heidelberg. Ich habe mein Herz in Heidelberg verloren. And it was beautiful and all this, but we visited the castle, the ruins of this castle. And in it was this giant vat. Imagine a barrel like you might store whiskey in, an old wood barrel, but it was the size of this studio or bigger. It was probably 15 feet tall, maybe taller, and 25 feet long, right? Huge. And the way that many of the farmers in the area would pay their taxes was in wine.
Oh.
So they'd come and they'd present their share of wine as their tax, because presumably there were a lot of, wineries and so forth, or people had their own wineries out in their back, 40, and they'd come pay it in wine. And so then the king's reserves of wine for the year were all in that vat.
That's quite a mixture, a meritage.
Oh, yeah, but although it was probably fucking good. Long before the eras of pesticides and crapola, I'm sure it was fantastic.
Yeah.
But that's sort of it, that they all had to pay their tax to the king. And it's the same way when a narcissist or when one person rules a house, pay your tax to the king. And then beyond that, you people can fight amongst yourselves. I really don't care. And that's what's going on in the home of the narcissist, or the home. If there's one person, and usually there's always one person sitting at the top of the food chain. And the family myth and the family stories exist to protect the person at the top of the food chain. Never forget that. And you represent a threat to the family if you attempt to tell a story or do anything outside of that family myth, outside of the family food chain. And they will fight you. And in fact, the person at the top of the food chain will do everything in their power. They will even employ others in the food chain to shut you down and to shut you up. Why? Because you have power. You have the power to blow up the family myth system. You have the power to usurp or undermine or blow up their power. So they will even turn your own siblings against you. Remember that. All right, taking your questions. Have you got something over there for me, Rob?
Yeah, matter of fact. Sven from D. Craze over on YouTube. What is your method for doing the work? How do you go deep inside internally and not be too intellectual about it or be too external with others or outward looking? What is the process?
D. Cray, have you read the book? Not only that, have you done the journaling exercises in the book? Because that is the method, or that's a big portion of it. 70% of my counseling method is in the book. There's a Hole in My Love Cup. Yeah, and not only read it, the way you go from just keeping it intellectual to actually experiencing it is by doing the journaling exercises. See, that's the difference. People who read my book, and now I'm not just talking to you, now I'm talking to everyone. People who read my book but don't do the journaling exercises are the ones that want to keep it up here because they're terrified, or they don't know how to name feelings, how to experience them. They don't know what to do with them. All right. But those journaling exercises force you to take the theories of the book and overlay them and weave them into or set into your life, in your history, in your experience. Or another way of doing it is take your life and fit it into the algorithm of the method. There has to be some interaction there, and you can't begin to look into and accept and feel and see these theories in light of your own past without it stirring up shit. And it's that shit that you want to stir up. And then when it stirs up from that vault that you've kept all those feelings and thoughts and memories, or at least a lot of all those feelings for whatever reason, maybe you were taught you're not allowed to have feelings, whatever it was. Once you begin to open that vault and those feelings begin to come out, they're heavy and they sit in your lap, and it's like file after file. There has to be an egress point for that. There has to be an exit, and that's what the journaling is. That's what therapy would normally be. That's what letter writing is, and so forth. But just start with the book. I mean, it's the good, deep ass kicking. Was there a follow-up on that, Rob?
Yeah, he gave you a thumbs up.
All right.
It was explained to me one time that you can analyze the chemical composition of an apple to understand why it is sweet, but sometimes you just have to take a bite.
That's right. And that to the point of, that's back from Good Will Hunting, where they're sitting next to the pond, and, Robin Williams is sort of poking at Matt Damon. He says, you can tell me everything about the Sistine Chapel, but can you tell me how it smells, or the dampness of it and that sort of thing. All right. And AW gives sort of the amen on that here on TikTok by saying the journaling pulls so much out. It's the process of writing it out. And I have so many clients and followers who say, Sven, I journal, I write it out. It's not bringing up the feelings. And I say, just keep doing it. Keep writing out those memories. Keep writing out all the things we're talking about and so on and so forth. And for instance, recently I had a woman come into session and I could see the light bulb above her head. She was walking around with a light bulb above her head, metaphorically speaking.
I got an idea.
Yep. The light finally went on, that she had the breakthrough. And I said, why'd you have the breakthrough? Why did the feelings start to come finally? She said it was just repetition. I just kept going to the well. I kept going to the well, and then it just started to come. So it's like anything. It's just keep doing the work, All right, we're going to take one or two more questions.
One more, make it a good one.
All right. Boy, no pressure, huh?
That's right.
This is a good one. And this goes back to what we were taught, where we started the show with your gal over on YouTube, except it's a younger version. Stanceline asks, how do you leave in your 40s when you know you leave with nothing and you will struggle financially? That's a great question. And you are certainly not the only person in that boat. And really, it's any age. But you add the 40s part because you're fundamentally saying, I feel old. And I fear I may not be employable, or I fear that it'll be harder to get a job, which may be true. There may be an element of truth to that. I'm not going to dispute that with you. I don't know what your background is. I don't know what your training is. I don't know what your career field, if you have one, what that's like, et cetera, et cetera. But you're asking a great question. How do you leave in your 40s when you know you will struggle with nothing and when you know you will leave with nothing and struggle financially? Well, in a way, you have two choices. Don't leave, stay, or leave and struggle. Now, obviously, you haven't left yet, because you're still trying to figure out how I will do it. And that's fine. There's no judgment with whatever path you take. This is your life. You get to spend it your way. Okay? Nobody gets to fault you for choosing what you choose. Okay? But you're asking, well, what's the how step? You did not say, how do you leave in your 40s when you know you will leave with nothing and will struggle financially? You did not say, when you know you will leave with nothing and you simply will not be able to make it at all, period, financially. You said you'll struggle financially. That's right. You will struggle financially. And unfortunately, right now, there are a lot of people struggling financially, especially a lot of young people, because it's an expensive fucking world we live in right now. But yes, you will struggle, but struggle is doable. Struggle is doable. It sucks. Nobody wants to struggle, whether it's financially or any other way, but you're struggling right now by not leaving, aren't you? And so part of what you're wrestling with is the struggle and the pain, as I like to call generally anything that is hard and sucks and I don't want to fucking do. The pain that you're in does not exceed the pain of the struggle, which is why you haven't left yet. The fear of that struggle and the financial having nothing and struggling financially, that looks bigger than the shithole you're in right now. But the problem of the shithole you're in right now is it's only going to get worse. It's not going to magically heal itself. You know that, which is why you're considering leaving anyway, right? And so what do? How? You fucking grind it out. You make it work. And you want to know why? Because if you're doing the healing work at all, if you're truly doing the healing work of journaling, of letter writing, maybe going to therapy as well, or working through the book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup, or the follow-up book, Badass Wisdom, and I'm working on another sequel, all right? If you're doing the work, but especially if you're just hungry to be alive, to be free, do you know what's going to be one of the most glorious things? It's even if you are living in a state of less, even far less. One of the most glorious things that you're going to experience, even if you live in the smallest apartment, let's say, or you're sharing an apartment with someone. And I did that. I was living in LA for several years with Jay, coolest guy, man. And after my marriage ended, and the coolest thing was, you know what? I want to buy this plant. And I bought myself a little plant. And I'm going to put my plant here. No. I'm going to put it there. This is my plant. It's my shelf. I want my plant right there. And there's something glorious about finally getting to choose who I am, what I want my life to be, where I want my plant. I want a cat, or I don't want animals anymore, or gosh, I just want to stop having that car payment. You know what? I just want to bike. I can bike to work. I don't want to have a freaking car. My point is what? That your life is finally yours. And sometimes the trade-off of the struggle, even if it's for several years, the trade-off is fucking worth it. As Kay says over on Facebook, freedom. That's right, liberation. And right now you're struggling because the idea of that financial struggle is not appealing. Of course not. But the pain eventually gets so bad. Change will not occur until the pain gets bad enough. And on that day, you will reach the fuck it point, as I talk about in the book. There's a hole in my love cup. And when you reach the fuck it point, you're no longer thinking about it. You're no longer hoping or trying to figure it out or wondering. You reach the fuck it point, there is clarity that you didn't have yesterday, and there is courage that just yesterday you didn't have. The fuck it point is coming, and you'll know. It's not a wondering. It's not a figuring out. It's not a hoping. It's just there's a certainty. All right, my fine young peanuts. This has been lovely. So whether you are tuning in from Australia or Edmonton or down on the Amalfi Coast or up in Sveriga, it is so wonderful to have you here. This is the Badass Counseling Show. On behalf of my team, Sophia the Artist, KC in the booth, Rob the Rocket, I'm Sven Erlandson. This is the Badass Counseling Show. Have a kick-ass day.
The Badass Counseling Show is strictly copyrighted. No copies may be made without the express written consent of the Badass Counseling Show, LLC. The Badass Counseling Show is produced by Karen Camparelli and Robert H. Friedman. Executive producer Sven Erlandson. Original music by two-time Emmy Award-winning composer Trevor Morris. Have a kick-ass day.